action. 11 candidates vying for the offices of mayor and councillor will be answering questions and debating the issues that matter to our town. It's my hope that tonight's forum will be a respectful event, because democracy should be all about giving a respectful listen to others' viewpoints, even if one might disagree with those viewpoints. On Tuesday evening, I had opportunity to attend the school trustees candidate forum, and it featured a lot of quality questions and answers, and the evening had a truly respectful tone. Showing respect toward others is no longer a given in our society, but it's a crucial value that needs to be upheld. One of the reasons I truly enjoyed the last 4 years of serving as a town councillor is that I frequently saw respect shown at council meetings, at committee meetings, and in the inner workings of the town itself. I hope that all who attend tonight's forum, whether in person or digitally, will appreciate the exchange of ideas that takes place. Thank you for being a part of Democracy in Action, and I hope you all enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John, for providing us some insight there. Next, we'd like to bring up Calvin Elliott for some opening remarks.
Thank you all for tuning in tonight, and it's an exciting evening for me. My first time running for council in Smithers. Been excited about municipal politics for many years. Just decided that I felt like I could offer myself up to serve the community in this capacity. And I think that with my background in budgeting and industry, managing capital projects, I could be a really good resource on council. I've lived here for 28 years. I actually moved here from Newfoundland 28 years ago. It's a beautiful place, beautiful people. I love this community. I couldn't think of living anywhere else but Smithers, so I want this place to be here long after I'm gone. I hope I make it a better place if I get elected to council, and leave it that way. Thank you very much for giving me this time.
Thank you very much, Calvin. We appreciate that. Next, we're going to call up Adam Cooch. I think he's just outside here. He'll be in just a moment. And if you're just joining us on the live stream now, just letting you know that we're doing kind of a pre-live stream, and this will go for another about 15 minutes, and then we're going to pivot into the main foyer where we're going to have the All Candidates Forum on live stream. So if you're just joining us, thank you so much for being here with us right now. We're waiting for one more candidate to come up to the podium here. All candidates are being called up in alphabetical order. All right, Adam, come on up. The live stream is waiting for you.
All right. So, my name is Adam Kosh, and I'm running this year for Councillor of Smithers. I'm running because I wanted to help represent the community, and I've grown up here. I've gone to school in Burnaby, and I came back. And I want to help ensure that other people continue to come here or return and want to grow a family up here. What do I bring to the table? I like to think I'm a practical and straightforward person. I went to school, as I said, for accounting, so I have a bit of financial knowledge. And I like to think that since I'm only 27, I have a bit more of a perspective of more of the youth in Smithers. And I think that's a very important thing, because housing across the whole country, not just Smithers, is a big issue. And I really do think that we need to address it and to start acting on it now. It's just going to get worse, and we can't just keep putting it off and letting it escalate. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Adam. Okay, next we'd like to bring Jason McCrindle up to the microphone to share some opening remarks. Please come up, Jason.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you everybody online who's watching this. So of course my name is Jason McCrindle. I'm running in this election to try and help out the community. We've gone through some tough years, and there's a lot of work yet to be done, I feel. The one question on here is, what kind of skills will you be able to bring forward to this? I currently work in management, so management, forward thinking, financial control, I think are all things that I can definitely bring to the table here with the town. And I'd like to be your voice. A big thing that I've heard out there is a lot of people don't feel like they have a voice on our council table, and I want to be that voice for people. It's not necessarily what my personal opinions are on things. I want to be able to reach out to as many people in the community, see where their thoughts are, and bring that to council. Still have time? How much? I'm live, aren't I? Perfect. Well, that was some of the stuff there that I had thought about. I'm sorry, 2 minutes is actually a lot longer than what I had originally anticipated. Now, while I got you, you may not notice any signs of mine or anything around town. That is one thing that I've kind of steered away with this. And so hopefully this message gets to you. And yeah, hopefully I do a little bit better in there later on. Thank you, everybody.
All right, and thank you so much, Jason. Thank you for making us laugh. And yes, 2 minutes is a lot longer than one would perceive. Next up, we'd like to call Genevieve Patterson to the microphone. Please come on up.
All right. Hi, I'm Genevieve Patterson, and I'm really excited about running for Smithers Council this year. A little about me, I've called the Bulkley Valley home for about 12 years now. I've also have 15 years experience in public and community service, which is near and dear to my heart. I look forward to bringing that same dedication to serving my community. Some of the projects that I've had the pleasure of working on are within both the social and natural resource sector. So I have 15 years experience working with all levels of government, Indigenous, provincial, federal, and municipal. Tons of experience working with industry, stakeholders, and the public to resolve incredibly complex issues and capitalize on incredibly exciting opportunities. I look forward to doing the same for my community. Please vote on October 15th for Genevieve Patterson. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Genevieve, for coming up to the podium here. Next up, we have candidate Sam Raven. So come on up, Sam. We've got you ready to go. The live stream's watching, so come on right up to the microphone, please.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Sam Raven, and my pronouns are she and her. And I would like to acknowledge that we are having our All Candidates Forum on the traditional territory of the Gittendam clan of the Wet'suwet'en Nation. So, hi, if you don't know me, I am born and raised in the beautiful Bulkley Valley, and I am raising my 3 kids along with my husband here in Smithers. And I keep getting asked, what special skills do I have or will I bring forward? So, I have been a long-time union activist, so I bring forward the issues affecting all working people. So that could be for the, in regards to, the queer community or living wages and all of that, and I'll be able to bring those advocacy skills to the council chambers. I fully support youth sports. My kids are all in soccer. My daughter did gymnastics, so we're heavily involved in that, which also means I've been heavily involved in fundraising. So that's been a great way to get out into the community, and I see what happens when this community comes together. So for things like the skateboard park, we have such incredible heart and commitment when we put our minds to it, and that's something that I want to facilitate and continue through this term on council. How do I plan to impact the community? Bringing a people-focused approach. So I worked as a community support worker for many years, and I really want to bring the skills that I learned there to be able to make Smithers just a more vibrant and wonderful place. I mean, it's amazing. We're all here and we love it, and I just want to do what I can to make it shine just a little bit more. So thank you so much. I look forward to everything, and thank you so much for tuning in.
All right, thank you so much, Sam. We appreciate those remarks. Next up, we'd like to call current councillor Frank Ray up to the microphone. Come on up, Frank.
Hi, I'm good to go. Hi, everybody out there on internet land. Good evening. My name's Frank Ray, and I'm seeking re-election to Town Council. I moved to Smithers about 28 years ago, and for the past 5 years, I've worked at the BC Liquor Store, which I now manage. And some of you may know me from my long career at Safeway before that. With the support of my wife Dana and my now adult children, it has been my honor to serve on council since 2008, and I'm seeking a 5th term on council. I've used the slogan "working for everyone," which means I strive to help arrive at decisions that are balanced, fair, and consistent. It also means I advocate strongly for core services that we all use, such as roads, sidewalks, water, and sewer. It also means that I work with everyone. I'm particularly proud of the respectful way that our past councils have maintained our respect for one another, even though we often had conflicting ideas and ideals. I've always been a strong advocate for fiscal responsibility. I watch every tax dollar spent as if it's my own. But I've learned that it's better to fully fund our needs and wants now and into the future instead of ignoring problems that become even more expensive later on. This election is a bit different, with at least 4 new councillors elected on the 15th. That's over half of council. I have learned that there are rarely simple solutions to the problems and opportunities that we face, and I believe my experience will be of value around the council table if I'm re-elected. There's so much I could say more, but my time is running out. Stay tuned or come on down to the theater to hear more about what I have to say for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. Next up, we'd like to introduce our current mayor right now. That is Gladys Attrell. Gladys, come on up and have the microphone.
Thanks, Sheena. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm going to start by acknowledging the Gitumden clan and the Wet'suwet'en people on whose traditional territory we're gathering tonight. My name is Gladys Attrell, and I'm seeking re-election as mayor. I'm excited to be running for mayor. I am deeply committed to this beautiful community and the people who live here. I've been on council since 2014 and mayor since 2020. The last few years have been difficult for people and businesses here, and in fact, all around the world. Now, though, is the time to bring people together, to celebrate what we have as a community. Our greatest strength is the people who live here, people who were born here, and those who chose this place to be their home. We are all Smithereens. When we work together, we can achieve great things. I want to share a couple of things that I'm proud of from the last term. Early on in the pandemic, when businesses were limited and how many people they could have in their buildings, we, council, reacted quickly, waiving regulations and allowing the use of sidewalks and roads, which was especially helpful for restaurants and breweries, but it was available to all businesses. A couple of years ago, council undertook a core review of town services and pledged to take steps necessary to improve what we do. With a new chief administrative officer, council started doing the work necessary to rebuild. We now have a highly competent team of managers and staff. All of you running businesses and organizations know, without great staff, it's hard to get work done. I am proud of the town staff who are committed to doing great work for you, the residents. Those of you who know me know I love downtown, and I am so proud of the reinvestment in Main Street, the first major reinvestment in over 40 years. I have heard from many of you how great it looks. I know there is hard work and challenging issues going forward. I have energy, commitment, and deep love of this community. I look forward to your questions this evening. I ask for your support, your vote on October 15th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor candidate Gladys Attrell. All right, next, we'd like to call up our final mayor candidate that will be speaking on the podium before we switch over to the forum in the Della Herman. So last but not least, Murray Haas, please come up to the microphone.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Murray Hawes, and I'm so excited to run for mayor of this town. We moved here in '85, and then we've raised 3 children here, and the town has been so gracious. We have a special needs son that was born in '89, and without the support of this wonderful town, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. It just bothers me over the last several years that we haven't had fiscal responsibility and that we're in a dire position that we're at, that we can look forward to double-digit tax increases this year and again next year that's forecasted. And that's going to be difficult for a lot of us in that day. And I just felt that it was time to step up. I'm retired now, I have the time, I have the energy, and I'm so looking forward to having that ability to work with these young counselors that we have running. It's the first time, I think, in a long time we've had so many good quality candidates that have given their name and stood up and said, yes, elect me. It's really difficult to do this. You don't realize how hard it is when you're not a political person, but you see things happening in this community, and a lot of us have complained over the years. Well, no more complaining. Now it's putting my foot forward, and I'm ready to stand up and do this. I know there's been a lot of people talking about different things, whether it's the crime, and it's a serious problem in this community. Affordable housing, the lack of doctors. There's so many issues that are outstanding, and the previous council had a chance to do and address a lot of those issues that I don't feel they've done a great job with it. So it is time to make a change. Vote for the people that are here, the new energy ones, the young councilors, and give me a chance to lead them. I've got a lot of leadership qualities and experience in that, and I look forward to your support going forward. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mayor Candidate Murray. We appreciate your remarks up here. So at this time, we want to thank you for joining us for the first part of the live stream. The live stream will now be paused, and we will redirect it to the Della Herman Theater, where candidates will reconvene and be back on the live stream at 6:55 p.m. So please enjoy a quick break, a brief break, and we'll see you at 6:55. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hear me. Excellent. Welcome everyone to the 2022 Municipal Election All Candidates Forum. My name is Tom Barker. I will be your moderator for the evening. Before we begin, we acknowledge that we are live streaming and hosting this event on the Gittenden clan home of the Wet'suwet'en people on traditional unceded territory. First of all, I want to say that this is an amazing exercise in democracy. It's so great to see so many people here turn out for a public forum for a municipal election. And we're very, very proud of this event because we're one of the only towns in the province that's actually doing a proper public forum like this. And we think it's very important that you get a chance to see and hear the candidates in a public way like this. It takes a lot of guts and commitment to put yourself up for office, and all of these people on the stage right now deserve our gratitude for that. All right, I just also need to take just a moment to thank the sponsors of this event, the Northern BC Real Estate Board put up some money for this, and of course the Interior News, Smithers District Chamber of Commerce, the Moose, CICK, Smithers Community Radio, CFNR, Tim Hortons, and the Smithers Public Library. Okay, we're going to have 3 rounds tonight. Traditionally, we would have 4 rounds. We would have opening statements from the candidates. But considering how many people are interested in these jobs on council, we didn't want to be here till midnight, so we decided we would forego the opening statement round because we figured they would want to have the last word. So our first round will be questions from the media. We have a media panel down in the front here. The questions were submitted to the radio stations by the public. They were curated by our media panel, and they will start the first round by asking each of the candidates a question. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the question, and each candidate has 2 rebuttals so that they can either challenge what the first candidate said or so that they can answer that question themselves if they so choose. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer. Our timers from the public library are down in front here. They will be putting up a 30-second card and then a 15-second, or just straight to 0? Okay. Now, anybody who's ever seen me moderate one of these things knows that I don't like cutting people off in mid-sentence, but if you try to take advantage and go beyond that, I will cut you off. Okay, so let's get started. Who's up from our esteemed media panel? Pamela?
Sure. Okay, good, it's on. Okay, so this question is for Jason McCrindle. Homelessness in Smithers is the entire town's responsibility, but how would you, as an elected council member, address the need to support our most vulnerable members with shelter and support services?
Great question. There you go. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Yeah. Great question. You know, we've definitely been dealing with this here in the community over the past. It's probably been more evident in the past couple of years. Homelessness has definitely been on everyone's mind. Right now, what we're doing and where we have provided space for our homeless, I don't think is working. I don't think it's the right spot. And I want to work, if I get on council, I want to work with the next council to come up with something different, a different place, maybe further away from our main street, and of course all the supporting services as well. Homelessness is something that we're never going to alleviate. There's always going to be a certain percent of the population that is going to be homeless, unfortunately. But we, as a community, need to do what we can to support those people as well. Different outreach programs, drug, alcohol abuse programs, those are all something that we've got to look at. But where it is right now, just, it doesn't work.
Thank you, Jason. Anybody else?
I'd like to add if I can.
Absolutely.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes?
Is it hard to hear? I feel like it's quiet. No, it's okay? Okay, thanks so much, Jason. I just want to add a little bit to that. I did a bit of exploration, and first I just want to thank Council for all the extraordinary work that they've actually done this far to build supportive housing. I think there's not been enough credit due where it's deserved. So I want to build off that work that they have done, and there's 2 exciting opportunities in my mind, both the Northwest BC Resource Benefit Alliance and the new MOU that we've signed with the province around this financial resiliency. So when I read both of these agreements, and I have exceptional experience working with the province and non-for-profits and drafting these agreements, I think the next step is saying, okay, that's great that we have this relationship established and we agree that we need to develop more supportive housing, and there's commitments in both of these agreements to do so. I want to see us actually implement those. So what that looks like is working with the province and the federal and our Indigenous partners to actually start to build more. Supportive housing, and the difference between that and just emergency shelters, is providing adequate resources for mental health and addiction services as well. So I just think we absolutely need to prioritize that, and until we do so, we're going to see an increase in taxes on our policing and by law enforcement.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, this is Lindsay from the Moose. This question actually is for Genevieve. What suggestions do you have for how the town council can address the social and political division that has become apparent over the last 2 years?
Thank you for that question. That is at the heart of my platform. I've seen this incredible division within our community and across the North area. It actually breaks my heart, and that's a huge reason why I'm here today. I think the only way that we can support our community in any meaningful way is to work together. And the fact that I even ran was actually due to a significant amount of people within the community from different backgrounds and groups that said, we believe in you and what you stand for, and we want to support you. So to me, I believe we can. I see we do it every time there's somebody in our community who's sick. And I think that if we continue to think about that and put that at the heart of everything that we do, we can be successful. And I have some ideas on how we can actually develop better community relations. And if I have the opportunity, I'll talk about that more. Thank you.
Thank you. Mariska.
This is Mariska from the Interior News, and this question is for Adam. Has the town's response to accepting refugees from the Ukraine been adequate?
I think for the size of our town that it's actually been a pretty good response so far. I actually have an employee as well that is from Ukraine and that is heavily involved with this. I know there's been a lot of fundraising done locally as well at the Fall Fairgrounds and by the restaurant in town here. And I think that Smithers has done a great job so far, but once again, it comes down to the housing issues. Do we have enough spots or affordable housing? There's been a lot of people stepping forward and offering their homes for periods of time, a temporary period, but they need to find a place to actually be able to rent or live at while they continue to stay here where it's safe.
Thank you, Adam. Would anyone like to add to that? Okay. We have Morgan.
Hi, I'm Morgan from CFNR, and this question is for Frank. How will you approach the need for infrastructure to services such as hospitals and roads and still maintain a balance for projects that increase the town's recreational investments?
That's a good question. As you know, I've always advocated for infrastructure. Recreation's part of that. It's fine to have good roads and good sidewalks, but if you don't have anywhere to go, that's also not there. Basically, I want us to start focusing more on infrastructure, making sure that we can use our infrastructure like our sidewalks. We all know a lot of them aren't super walkable anymore, and so that's actually my priority over the recreation, but the recreation is also important. But the recreation is more going to have to be from grants and capital funds, roads and sidewalks from operational funds.
Thank you, Frank. Adam?
I just wanted to add on a little bit to that question, and that I agree that we need to really focus on our infrastructure. Our roads have not been maintained the last couple year mostly, and that taxes have just been going up, and definitely due to the financial markets, interest rates, the town needs to be responsible with their financial budgets over these next few years, and we need to make sure that our basic infrastructure, roads, our water system, and sidewalks are usable. And as Frank discussed, we should be focusing on grants and government programs to finance the recreational things over the next couple years.
Thank you.
It's Pam again from CICK Smithers Community Radio. This question's for Calvin. How will you help Smithers increase revenue streams to mitigate property owners' tax responsibility of services and infrastructure costs? And how will you guide the discussion in council to create incentives to elevate new businesses in Smithers?
That's one of my focuses there. I think we need to attract more business to town, broaden our tax base. I think people, and I don't want to pay more taxes. I think everyone here would probably agree with me with that. Everything costs more. It even goes back to infrastructure. Paving costs more. I work at a place where we spend a lot of money on paving every year, and it seems less and less that dollar goes not as far as it used to. So we need to broaden our tax base in Smithers and bring business in. I know sometimes we're kind of bristly to that idea because we have local business that thrive, but I think we need to do more. I think Chamber does a pretty good job as well right now, but I would definitely be in discussion about how do we attract more business to Smithers.
Anybody else like to get in on that one? Okie dokie. Back to Lindsay.
So this question is for John. You've been a part of the conversations regarding the town and library's vie for funding to build a new community center, which has been a nearly 2-decade process. Is that a project that you believe is still relevant focus for council and mayor at this time when affordable housing is in deficit in Smithers for families and individuals?
Thanks for that question. I've been on the library board now for 6 years. 4 years as the town council rep. It's a library board that's incredibly committed to a new facility, but which recognizes too that the bulk of it will have to be grant funded. We've done a significant, there's potential for a significant amount of fundraising from individual donors, but the rest of it primarily will have to be grant funded. And one of the reasons we haven't been successful to this point is that we haven't been able to obtain that grant funding. But I think the library board is very committed to just keep working at it. It reminds me a little bit of the committee that worked on the second sheet of ice. I think it took close to 25 years before they finally had that second sheet of ice, but they just kept at it. And I see our present library board operating the same way. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody? Okay. Mariska.
This question is for Nick. What would you do as next steps for the town's climate emergency that was declared in 2019 by Town Council and documented in the Community Energy and Emissions Plan?
Thanks, Mariska. In 2019, the emergency declaration that was made, I personally don't think it was an emergency. I believe, and I understand that the town has to reduce their greenhouse gases emissions by 30-ish%. They're looking at switching all their light vehicles to electric, and I don't believe that's the best option for the town. I believe, personally, I think we should stick with fossil fuel, and the only reason I say that is because if you look at how the process of going and building these electric machines is actually worse. So you're creating more greenhouse gases in, say, China, but we're reducing them in Smithers, so it's overall not very good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Nobody wants to talk tonight. Saving them up for the next round. All right. Morgan.
This question is for Sam. And how would you take into consideration the cultural and traditional beliefs of surrounding Indigenous communities when making decisions if you were to become councillor?
That's a really good question. I actually just did an interview before tonight with a CK reporter regarding reconciliation. And I truly believe that when it comes to reconciliation, the first thing we have to do is listen. So we need to listen and we need to reach out proactively to the surrounding nations and learn about their culture and history and their lived experience, and then find ways to support them in that and let them have, or not let them, I apologize for that. No, they should have a seat and be able to have a say in what's going on in our community as well. We should be actively reaching out when we're having our council meetings and our issues as to what they think we should be doing. Because the local nations have been around a lot longer than we have, and they know our area far better than we ever will. So that's what I would do.
Thank you, Sam. All right. Have we got any?
I'll add to that if I can. I'll use my
Absolutely.
last. I think it's really important, so I'm going to go for it.
Right on.
I think we need to do a lot more, and local government has an exceptional responsibility to do so. I'd like to see us do more community outreach on the importance of reconciliation in our community. It's a shared responsibility. I'd like to create a strong partnership with the Office of the Wet'suwet'en and how we support our community. And we absolutely need to do more to protect the women who continue to go missing and are murdered in our community. We are not doing enough, and it's unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Even the cats want to get in on this. That's how engaged the Smithers community is. All right, have we got any questions for our mayoral candidates at all?
Yes, we do. Okay, this question is for Murray. Municipal government is required to work within the bounds of the community charter and provincial and federal laws. how does your presence and financial support of the trucker convoy demonstrate your experience to work within existing legal frameworks?
Well, thanks for the question. I guess we'll get the elephant in the room right now. So I made the trip to Ottawa, I did, but here's the story, and it's going to take more than a minute. I was driving in Burns Lake with my 93-year-old mother who was locked down in a long-term care facility, and we could not visit her. So we took her for a drive around the head of the lake, out to, because they grew up out in the south side of Burns Lake, and we were listening to CBC, and they were talking about this convoy that was heading across the country, and listening to it, and they're talking about all the excitement, the people along the street netting, and they're cheering for it. I said, I gotta go see what this is. I'm a very curious person. I wanted to see what it was all about. So we drove my mother-in-law back, checked her in, got home at 11 o'clock on Sunday night. At 1:30 in the morning on Monday, I headed off by myself in that day to find out what this was all about. Caught up to him just outside Winnipeg. I didn't take part officially in the convoy, but I was in it parts, and parts I drove ahead of him. And I stopped and I interviewed hundreds of people, young people, old people, people from every walk of life in every nationality.
Murray, that's your time. Do you want to use your rebuttal to continue?
Sure. So then it became very apparent. What people were really upset about was the overreach of government. We've had that too often. They invoked or breached the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and our Charter of Rights and that and it was so evident that how people were feeling, and they were so emotional. People were crying. They said, "What's our country come to? We're supposed to be a democracy. You don't do stuff like that." You know, the truckers, when they were going there, they just want someone to come talk to them. If they would have, I am sure that we would have resolution a lot sooner. I walked the streets there. I took my 67-year-old, very, very Christian aunt down there, and she lives right downtown Ottawa. She was comfortable. She said, "I can't believe that our government won't come and talk to them."
Thank you, Murray. Anybody? Frank, we have a taker.
Those of you that have followed my career on council know that I have some opinions about things and others have had opinions about things, but we have to remember up here what we're here for. We're here to provide the services that the municipality covers. And I agree with some of the trucker convoy things. I agree with some of the things that you might consider left wing, but I don't feel they're in our wheelhouse. And I know there's a lot of new candidates up here, and I remember being up here myself and not quite understanding, but we need to make sure that the town council stays focused on municipal responsibilities.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Yeah, this question is for Gladys. How can Smithers address the need for addiction services and frontline healthcare needs of the community and the current doctor shortage?
Thanks, Lindsay. That does follow really after the comments that Frank just made. Some things are more of a challenge for us in local government. When we're talking about addiction services and recognizing the difficulty that people have right now in finding doctors, I don't have a doctor either. What we can do is work the relationships we have with other entities, be it Northern Health, Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, Minister of Health, sorry, lost my train of thought. What we can do is work with the agencies here, the Division of Family Practice, to bring those concerns in a serious way to the people who actually can work with us. We cannot do that piece alone. Those are actually out of our wheelhouse in terms of being able to fix. But we are responsible for the people here and hearing the concerns that you have and bringing them to the people who can work with us. It's about being together. It's about strong relationships, and it's being a strong voice at the table.
Thank you. Well, that was what we had for a planned round of media questions. Does anyone else want to use any of their challenges to weigh in on the healthcare crisis in town? Thank you, Sam.
No worries. One thing that I think seems to be missing when we're talking about the need for people in our healthcare industry is that directly ties into the affordability and lack of rental units. So I was talking to a local nurse, and she said that she had 5 friends that were fully certified nurses that would work full time, and they wanted to take positions at our hospital, but they couldn't find places to rent. So we really need to remember that it's more than just about attracting people here. We need to have the space to accommodate them where they can come here, fall in love with our town, and then we can have the healthcare that we need here for the residents.
And it comes back full circle to housing. Anybody else want to talk about housing?
I would like to add to that too. I know everyone is in a labor crunch. Everyone's looking for people. In where I work for West Fraser, we've had issues where we've had people ready to come to work from a different town. And they've had to say, I can't come because I don't have a place to live, or it's out of their price range. So I think that affects everyone here. If you're a business owner, I know I've seen help wanted signs all around town. The workforce is very short in town. And we need people to move here, and we don't have the housing for that right now.
Thank you, Calvin.
I'll go.
Jason?
Sorry,
and then Gladys.
Yeah, housing's one of those tough ones because as a town and as a municipality, it's not our responsibility to go out there and build apartments, build houses for people to live in. What we can do, though, is maybe change some of the bylaws. There's a variance right now up in Phase 7 of Ambleside to change those lots from R1 to R2, which is going to help increase the density of housing in that area. The town has done a decent job in the last while dealing with it. We just seen 3030 Pacific. That was places to buy, but that was 12 places under $400,000 that sold like that. There's a project on 3rd Avenue right now that's a bunch of rentals that are going to be there too. As a town, I think we can only do so much for that. We can have the land there, we can change bylaws and allow variances to go through to allow more housing.
Thank you, Jason. And now Gladys would like to say something about that as well.
Yeah, thanks. I thought I'd just talk about what we have done. So some of the things that Jason is just talking about are things that the town has done. We haven't said no to much when it comes to housing. When people have a creative idea, we work it through. People make applications to the Advisory Planning Commission. We get recommendations from that commission to council. As a rule, things that have to do with housing make it through. Sometimes they're massaged a bit, but there are, there is an expansion to the R2 zone. Housing and zoning is addressed in the new official community plan and the new zoning bylaw that they're just about done. We have approved land for supportive housing. We've approved land and remediated land for new housing for next year. Pretty much every idea that has come before council, creative and innovative, that will actually build housing, when we have partners, works. We need people in not-for-profit and people in private sector. We can't do this part alone. This, again, is about working together. What can we do together to address this problem? Council alone isn't going to fix this. It's together that will fix it.
Thanks, Gladys. Marie?
Yeah, so obviously the town needs to grow and we need to get more housing. What we can't do as a tax base is give land away and then also pay for the remediation of it. That doesn't work because that comes out of all of our pockets together. And already we're in a crunch where our taxes are going to go up probably double digits for the next couple of years because of decisions that have been made in the past because of the lack of foresight in seeing what was going on in the economic world. We've known infrastructure has been underfunded for 20 or 30 years, yet we didn't have a big plan in this town or many communities to look for that. So that's a big problem when you all of a sudden take dollars that could go somewhere else to pay the remediation and give the land. I have no problem giving the land, but then let them pay for the remediation. But not both, because that both comes out of all of our pockets and it's going to cost us down the road.
Thank you, Murray. Adam.
So just to do our quick add-on from the perspective of a more younger generation, the town has done a lot lately to address the growing need for housing. But once again, it's been an issue and it's been known for a long time, and we should have started this sooner. So we need to start focusing on high density because we're so far behind. I want people to be my age and come back like I did, or to stay here and raise a family, but there's just nowhere to stay, and it's been an ongoing issue in Smithers for years. How many apartment buildings do we have, and when were they built? And now we also need houses too for ownership, but until we get to that stage, we need higher density. Not as many single home in the next few years.
Thank you, Adam. Anybody else? Seeing none, we will now open the floor to questions from the audience. There's 2 microphones, one on either side of the stage, or there will be in a moment. And all that we ask is that you keep your questions concise and to the point. This is a forum to receive answers from your future mayor and councilors, and not a forum for people to make speeches. So please keep your questions concise and direct them to whomever you like. All right, floor is open. I guess everyone just wanted to make speeches. Come on, somebody's got to be first. I saw a cat here earlier. That's.
Where's Percy?
Yeah. Yeah, bring Percy back.
Where's the support for homeless cats?
There we go.
We could all be more like Percy.
We have that, Tom, at Northwest Animal Shelter. Don't forget that. I would like to put my question through to Murray. And my concern, I have a strong concern for the Telco Coal project. And I would just like to know where, if he is elected mayor, he would stand on that project. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Tom. I haven't done a lot of research on the project. I'll be honest. I want to find out more. I would like to meet with the parties on both sides, because obviously it's a delicate conversation piece along with a lot of other things. So until I had all the information, I wouldn't make a decision one way or the other. I can see the pros and the cons, but I need to be able to enlighten myself with all that before I could really make a decision. But thank you for the question, Tom. Thank you.
Are we allowed to expand on questions from the audience if we've already used our 2 rebuttals?
Well, since there's somebody at the... Oh, there is actually.
Hello, my name is Frank Farrell. I'm a candidate for school trustee in School District 54. And question I have to ask, I'll ask for the 2 mayoral candidates and anybody else who wants to answer as well. I know it's press of time. There's a second form of government within this town and as the school district, and I'm wondering if there is a will of the next council and the next school board to meet and at least an annual basis for common interest that can be the will to work in terms of solving some of the problems. When we're talking about a lot of problems, we're talking in terms of homelessness and everything else, and it works both ways within the school district and in the town. Thank you.
Gladys, let's start.
Okay. Thanks, Frank. Yes, I think there is a willingness. We have facilities, we have joint use agreements, we have people that want to use the facilities that belong to the public, that's schools and public facilities that are owned by the town. And the way to start that is actually just by getting to know each other at the elected official level and senior staff, so that we understand what are the things that perhaps are hurdles that we may not know about. But yes is definitely the short answer. It's time to get together, get to know each other, determine what we can do better for all the folks who live here and use our facilities to the max. The folks that are in the care of the school district are the ones who are going to be here later. So we need to take care and hear what's best for the young folks so that when they get to be closer to being old folks, we're still working together really well.
Thank you, Gladys. Murray?
It's very crucial that we are working together. That's the one thing I think we've lacked for many years at different forms of government. They always talk about it, but we need to have open and transparency and communication with whatever thing needs to be looked after, especially on the education, what's going on. It's been a very, very difficult couple of years. I'm sure that everyone realizes that the school district has had to put some tough choices on some of the things they've done. I've heard some horror stories from some people, and it's a shame. And nothing has come from the council. They say we should or is. Well, they should have been doing it. They've had the opportunity to have open communication. Why wasn't it done? Ask yourself that question. Thank you.
Thank you. I see someone at the microphone on the other side.
Good evening. I have a question for all of them. Is that all right?
Yes.
It's a yes or no answer, and kind of if they want to expand on that. I want to know if you actually physically live in the town of Smithers, not owning property, but actually living in this town.
Who's going first?
Yeah. Start with the mayor candidate, please.
Okay, thank you for asking. I live on Tyee Lake Road, so no is the answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and I've been here in this town since 1985.
Nick?
Thank you. Yes, I've been here for almost 10 years, and I do live in town.
Yes, I live in town, have for the past 23 years.
I live in town the past 28 years.
Yes, and I finally got my own place just in the summer.
A very accomplished young man.
Yes, do live in town. Just moved back here from Telkwa last summer.
Yes, I live in the heart of town, right on Columbia Drive, so I see it all every day.
So I actually live outside of town. I live out near Whitsett, actually, but still technically my postal code is Smithers. But that being said, is my children attend the school in Smithers. My children attend the sporting activities in Smithers. I am heavily invested in what goes on in Smithers because it affects everybody. It affects the people in Telkwa, it affects the people in Whitsett, and that's what I'm here to do, is represent everybody because I want what's best for this town, and I'm going to do my best.
Yes or no answers?
But she said I could expand on it.
Yes, I did, so it's okay for...
But there's the timer, but thank you so much, and thank you for your question.
Frank?
I live in Smithers, and if I could, I'll take one of my minutes here. I run on a platform, and it's a trite slogan, I know, but I represent everybody. So if you live in Smithers, or you live in Area A, you're still a resident of Smithers. If you live in Telkwa or Whitsett, you're in the Bulkley Valley, maybe. So obviously, we are mostly concerned about things within town boundaries, but things in town boundaries are used by people in the regional district, in Telkwa, in Whitsett, even in Houston. So we have to make sure that we understand our responsibility as a center. We have the hospital, we have a lot of the services. So we have to make sure that we're looking after our citizens, but our citizens also serve the entire valley.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did you have a question, Sheena?
Yeah, I'm Sheena with the Smithers Chamber, and so we've got some chamber members and business owners that are sending me live questions right now, texting my phone, so I thought I'd bring a few forward. This question goes back to housing, specifically emergency shelters. And this is an open-ended question to anyone on the panel that would like to receive the question. Do you support the initiatives released by the former housing minister and likely incoming Premier David Eby to prioritize emergency shelters such as the former Broadway Place and numerous other strategies to mitigate the extreme housing affordability in the Bulkley Valley and Greater Province?
Genevieve.
Absolutely, I do. Again, we're going to see an increase in taxes due to policing and bylaw enforcement if we do not prioritize emergency shelters. In addition to that, there's not only the Homeless Community Action Grant that we can apply to, but there's also $291 million being allocated through the provincial government to build supportive housing, specifically modular homes that come with 24/7 supportive staffing. So nurses, healthcare, so absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Sam?
Yes, I support this 100%. And what Genevieve mentioned was like the Good Acre Place. Those sort of places are extremely important. But we do need access to emergency shelters because they meet a need that is not currently being met within our town, and we need to make sure that we are supporting every person within our community.
Calvin?
I would 100% support that. I spoke to someone just before we came in here about this very issue. I think we have a very precarious position where a lot of the people are getting burnt out in the system. We need help. They need help. We can't have people living out in the winter. It's minus 30. They need shelter, and we need to do something quickly because winter is coming.
John and then Nick.
I would say the same. I actually had opportunity several years ago when Broadway Shelter was still in operation to first of all volunteer there and then to work for a summer doing some vacation relief. And during that time, I very much became aware of what a vital service Broadway Shelter provided to our community for the least, for those who are vulnerable in our community.
Thank you, John. Nick?
Thanks. So I actually used to live right above the Broadway Shelter, and I lived there for 5 years, I would say. Trust me, I've seen everything that you could possibly see that happens with our homeless and our people in need. I have a strong feeling, like I'm going to echo everyone else, we definitely need an emergency shelter. I've talked to a lot of the people that were going there. They're really nice people. Like, they get bagged on pretty bad, but they're very respectable. They were always respectable to me, and I think they are human beings. They're in a difficult position right now, and they need help. We need to help them. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam?
I also support this. And as people are saying, there's just been unfortunate circumstances or hardships, but we have to think of them as still humans. Everyone's still human. So we definitely need to help those in need. And I do support more emergency shelters. Of course, the challenges are going to be getting those grants and finding suitable locations.
Thank you. Someone at the microphone over here?
Was that going to go to everyone?
Hi there.
Was that going to go to everyone?
Okay. Can you wait 1 minute?
Yep.
I'm going to be pretty liberal with the time here since we've got tons of it. Gladys?
Sorry, and I saw Marie's hand
Or
too.
Marie
so-
first?
Okay, Gladys.
First of all, I'm really excited to hear how supportive people are of shelters. Of course, we're supportive of shelters and providing places in the warm and dry for people who are homeless. The one piece that we need to remember is that we need people to work with. And one of the challenges is getting the healthcare workers, the addictions outreach team, the people who are going to provide support. So we need partners in the community, and people who live here know how many agencies we have and how small they are. So if we're going to lobby for shelters and encourage someone to apply to run a shelter, because it probably won't be the town, we have to also ask that there be support for labor, for staff, for healthcare workers. We can't manufacture the people who are going to work there. And the folks that are doing the job now are tired. They're working really hard. So I absolutely agree. We need support for homeless people, but it's more than just the shelters. We need people to work there.
Thank you.
So I'm also in favor of the emergency shelters. Emergency shelters, as long as they're properly funded and they can guarantee or make sure that we have adequate, again, support there for the people. Because that's the problem if we don't have it. We put them in place, and like Gladys just said and many others, we're understaffed, we don't have the support mechanism in place. If we don't have it, then we don't need the shelter. If we're going to have the shelter, we got to make sure, whether it's through the provincial funding, we may have to take a multi-pronged approach on this and get many different interest groups together to come up with a solution. So that's on the emergency shelters. But on the homeless shelters, I think we need to have a close look at that, because within the homeless shelters, some of those people want to stay on the street. We need to look at them on an individual basis, meet with them and see what their needs are, and then how we can actually put a plan in place for them. And then what's happened with the homeless shelter that we have out there now, it's brought a criminal element to the community, because some of the people out there, and I've talked to some of them, they're not from here, but they know that it's pretty easy to come here because there's no pushback. So we need to address that. We need to get some community groups together and take a serious look at how we can rectify that.
Thank you, Murray.
I'm going to put this to the councillors. As far as going back to the housing situation, what is your stance on Airbnbs and the tax break that businesses get by building units above or in their businesses, and they get the break, but how are making them into Airbnbs as opposed to rental properties?
Sam?
So you actually raised a very interesting point. So last time I went on Airbnb, and I just looked in town proper. So I didn't look at all the outlying areas or all the cabins. I just looked at town proper. And there was over 40 units listed on Airbnb. And that would be a significant for those people trying to move here and come here and live here if those were off the Airbnb market and actually in for tenancy. So I know a lot of communities, Seashelt is one actually, where they actually just changed it, where Airbnbs have to be licensed, and that would be something I would be interested in exploring.
Thank you, Sam. Jason?
Yeah, so I'm actually one of those 40 Airbnbs that are listed here in town. I do have a house here in town. I am a homeowner. I pay my property taxes, and I have chosen, after having a renter in my basement suite, to rent it out on Airbnb. It was a difficult decision to make. If you look at the 2020 housing study that was put through by the town, we have, I think it was just over 700 rentals here in town, and that doesn't include those Airbnbs. So there are lots of rentals out there. I don't believe that as a municipality, we should tell homeowners what they can and can't do with their homes.
Thank you, Jason. All right, we have someone on this side.
Hi, my name's Barb, and this is difficult for me to stand here because Gladys is my peer. I graduated with her in high school in 1977 as Catherine Olmsted. So I am now currently homeless as of July 15th, thanks to people, which I will rename nameless because that's not my style to smear them. So, but I was staying in a situation for 3 nights, and this person that I've known since I was young decided to, say horrible things about me and saying this and that and everything because I'm homeless. And so I will not say his name because I grew up with him across the street. But I just want to say that the homeless of Veteran Park applauds Gladys for her efforts to keep us safe, keep them safe. And they want to say that they're cheering for you and hoping that you will succeed in this.
Do you have a question?
I do have this question. I just want to understand, even though we are homeless, we don't need to be treated with disrespect. So, we need to understand that we are human. We just ran into a situation that we're homeless, and we appreciate that Gladys has stepped up to the podium and cheered us on.
What is your question?
There's no question.
Okay, thank you.
Us homeless have got together and got this hat for Murray House because he likes this kind of style. So, okay.
Thanks, Barb.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave.
Hello, everybody.
You can bring it down, I'll put it on.
This goes out to, I'll direct this at Murray, but any of you can chime in on it. I've listened to multiple people that have businesses in town, and they pay a lot of taxes, but they don't live in town. Just listening to who lives in town and doesn't live in town here. What are your thoughts there, Murray? You can chime in first on this one, and anybody else can too. These people that have businesses in town and multiple businesses that pay thousands and thousands of dollars in taxes, they tell me they can't vote. Is that correct? And if it is, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and thank you for that question, Dave. I mean, it is an important question. It was in 1993 that Mike Harcourt and NDP took that away, and that is some of the research I've been doing. And in 2010, another government tried bringing it back, but it was voted down or didn't come in. I think as a council, we should be looking to that when roughly 40% of your tax base is paid by corporations in this town, people that own businesses, and that they should have a voice, as all we do right in here and at the table. I don't know the process of doing that. I would work with Sheena at the Chamber of Commerce and try and encourage other communities and other chambers to get on board with this. Because again, if you're paying taxes, I believe you should have a voice and a say. And it's very, very important in that. And they're getting frustrated because they haven't been listened to. They want transparency. They want communication. You know, they're a viable part and an important part of this community. We need to start growing the business, and we need to have the businesses feel like they're valued. I spoke to one business owner that they're looking to possibly even exit Smithers because they don't feel that they have been getting the support, and it's been going on for a few years.
Okay.
And that's a shame.
Thanks. And there's your hat.
Thanks.
Is there an opportunity to add more onto that, or?
Sure.
You go first, Derek.
Can you give clarity on our add-ons? your
So I just wanted to add on
rebuttals,
to what
because you
Marie
it's
said.
too
Oh, yeah,
opportune.
okay, sorry.
The question was addressed to anybody who wanted to answer it. As long as we've got time, I don't mind doing that.
Okay, so it doesn't count as a rebuttal.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Are
Okay.
you going to add after Genevieve?
Yeah.
Okay, Genevieve.
Nope, sorry, go ahead, Adam. Yep.
Am I good?
We're too polite, just go for it.
Adam, sorry.
I just wanted to add on to that. I think the general impression that it's come across tonight is we all definitely want the town, the community to feel involved with what goes on here, and we all should. So I agree that businesses should have a say. So all I'll add on to that is we should look into it and make sure it's fair. But I do support that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have a whole lot more to add other than just to say that community engagement is one of my top priorities. And I've seen the town has done an exceptional amount of engagement. I've attended all of their recent budget meetings. But I think I recognize, especially business owners, you're extremely busy. You have families. So I want to prioritize working with my council and mayor to get out to the community where you actually are and doing more one-on-one engagement, because you business owners contribute so much to our community. And I see you rally around those in need all the time. So just to thank you and say that it's absolutely a priority for me to continue to work with you.
Gladys?
Thank you. I think Dave's question was about whether or not businesses should have a vote. And I guess in some ways, while I can understand why people might think that, I also do support the notion that people vote. And there are opportunities for people who own property in town to vote. And one can just follow this, that if a person owns a business in many, many towns, where does that end? So it's complex. I'm just saying that it's not a simple answer. I do think the piece, though, about engaging with people and recognizing the influence and the participation of folks who live in this broader community. We have the town of Smithers, we have the rural immediately around, and Frank mentioned how far our community goes. We live in the Bulkley Valley, and this is back to, we do things together, we work together, and sometimes there are legal restrictions on what we can do, but we can still work together to make it a better community by using the folks who invest here, who shop here, who take advantage of services and bring their wealth into the community as well. We do these things together.
Thank you, Gladys. Jason?
It's a terrible rule, I think, that you can go up and down our main street or around our town, and there's long-term business owners here in town that pay an incredible amount of taxes, and they live just outside of town limits, and they don't have a say on what's going on. And a lot of those people feel like they haven't been consulted on projects, consulted on where that tax base of money goes. I know that it's not something that we're going to solve at the municipal level, but it is definitely something that on a provincial level definitely needs to be lobbied against them to have business owners be able to vote in town.
Thank you, Jason. I think, are you waiting to ask a question? Thank you.
Hey, I'm DJ. Didn't come here prepared for a question, and I don't have a political question. I know Gladys, John, and Frank don't have to answer this, but I was curious, how many of you, it's a new council here, a lot of people, attended or viewed council meetings in the past year, read agendas or the minutes from the meetings, was part of a committee of any sort with Smithers, or a board member of anything? I would just like to know a little bit about your experience in that.
Murray?
So I've read back on almost all the council minutes back to 2019. I've attended by Zoom if I couldn't do it in person the last little while. And when I couldn't get them live, then I would watch the broadcast afterwards. So I'd hopefully give myself abreast of what was going on. I have a lot of experience as far as sitting on boards. As people probably know, I was the founder of the charity golf tournament in 1991. We founded it, first one was 92. It's been going 30 years, raised over $1 million for this community, helped the Hospital Foundation, the Child Development Center, the Community Foundation, and I'm so proud of that. I also sat on the board of High Roads and Dick Ty. So Dick Ty does the housing for a lot of the special needs in town. High Roads does a lot of the programming, and that's dear and near to me because I have a special needs son, as a lot of you probably know. And you have to be your own child's best advocate, because in this town at first we didn't have a lot. And being able to increase the awareness under the CDC and hire occupational physiotherapists and expand the program for this community has helped so many wonderful people. And I've also had 15 years of leadership with Edward Jones.
Thanks, Mary.
I was on the Waste Management Advisory Committee for the regional district, so I attended about 6 months worth of meetings at the town because I was really passionate about the fact that we had inadequate management of our waste. And I'm really looking forward to being able to apply my knowledge and expertise in that, in being able to reconcile the fact that we spend up to almost $1 million in waste management. So yeah, thanks for that question, DJ. I'm excited to continue that conversation.
All right, thanks. I think we have somebody on this side.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm not good at this, but I worked or volunteered at Positive Living North 3 years ago or so, and that time my bike got stolen from a rural property out of town. And at the time, it was the people there, they actually knew who it was, and it's not them, but they knew who it was, and the police even knew who it was, and nothing could be done. We went and actually walked around and actually talked to people and it was actually quite a neat experience because I got to meet other people in the community in the search for my bike, and it was a very, whatever situation. Anyways, that was like 3-4 years ago, and lots of stuff has been going missing now. We know crime has gone crazy, and that's what my question is about, and how you guys were speaking about just changing systems and the way of voting or whatever, but we need to do something different because just on Sunday I was in a hit and run, and it was a full-on like movie scene, and I'm really excited about that, and so not for myself, like I'm fine, well I'm not fine.
Excuse me?
Sorry, but so my question is, what are you guys gonna do for getting around the crime stuff increase, because it's really bad.
Jason?
So this afternoon, actually, I had lunch at UFO on Main Street. As most of you know, they got broken into 2 nights ago. Crime is something that is definitely on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. As a former first responder, I'm glad you were okay in your accident. That's not always the case, so I'm glad you're here tonight to ask us these questions. We have a bit of a staffing issue with our RCMP. Unfortunately, coverage isn't there all the time. And that's something that I would like to see happen, have 24-hour coverage. I think that's very important. We have 11 positions filled by the town, and we have to look at the province to add a couple of more for us. So that we can continue on with that. They service a very, very large area, and a lot of that is paid for by the taxpayers here in Smithers.
So I just
Thank you, Jason.
Add to that, just because I know like the RCMP thing, the police were awesome, and they've been awesome with every situation, but that's the problem. They can't even do anything when they know who it is.
Yeah.
And so that's where I want to put it to you guys to how will you engage, like we used to have block watchers, or like, I feel we need to come together and as a community, like figure out other ways, not just rely on our RCMP and other things, because it's getting bad.
Yeah, and that goes to our provincial court system as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
I think Nick wanted to add something.
Yeah, so I just want to...
Cassidy, are you waiting to answer the question? Okay.
So I just want to touch on that it's definitely our judicial system that's failing us. It's not so much the RCMP. I've worked with the RCMP quite a bit here in the past 10 years. They're doing a bang-up job, but again, the judicial system is not, and that's where we're being failed. As for the 24/7 coverage, that is already it's going to be done by the end of the year because the detachment's already planned that. So we're not going to have to worry about that. The big issue is, like Jason said, they're spread out. They can't be everywhere at one time, right? So
They're two constables short.
Thanks, Nick. I think I saw Frank. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, some of the things that have already been said. It is a judicial system. Every year, the RCMP comes to council with their work plan for our blessing, but we don't direct the RCMP. We can ask them for certain things, but we know that, we went from 9 to 11 officers, and that's a big part of your 10% projected tax increase this year. We're not wasting money. So I think we've thrown all the resources that way we can at it, but I certainly would support trying to work with Block Watch. Our bylaw control officer can do that. So there are ways to do it, but RCMP additions are expensive.
Okay, I think Gladys wanted to say something.
Yeah, thanks. I've lost track of where you are, Lisa. I'm glad you're okay, and I'm sorry that happened to you. This is another one of those things that are complex, and I feel like people are looking for really easy answers. So others have touched on RCMP and the number of officers we have, and it would be great to have an addition to the provincial number, and we have actually lobbied for that for the last couple of years. The other part, though, is that when a crime happens, first of all, there has to be enough evidence. There has to be evidence to actually get through the Crown Council, and there has to be a crime and the evidence that will be supported in the court. So one can say we want more people in jail, and in some cases with severe criminal behavior, that's probably the right thing. But also as a society, we have considered who belongs in jail and who needs other treatments. Mm-hmm. So we need also to be thinking about what are the opportunities that we are creating for people when they need help other than just incarceration. So we have moved toward decriminalization of drugs. That's one thing. We need to actually pour resources into treatment for people so that they can be taken out of that system. It's complex. There's not one thing here.
Okay, thanks, Gladys. I think Calvin wanted to weigh in.
Yeah, glad you took the words right out of my mouth. I agree 100% with what you said. It's a much deeper issue than just putting people in jail. I agree with that. I've been a victim of break-in many years ago. The police came in and took fingerprints. But it can be very frustrating when they're, like Gladys said, there's enough evidence. I think the police have a really hard job. If you have a grainy video surveillance camera that shows someone's half face, it's really hard to bring that to court and get a conviction and put someone into jail. So it's really frustrating, but I think there's deeper social issues that we need to address there as well underneath all that.
John?
Thank you. In addition to the things that have already been said here regarding this question, we've also been in conversation about having an active citizens on patrol again. There was a time when our community was served very well by citizens on patrol. We had quite a number of members of our community who served on the COP. And one of the, I guess, the beauties of COP is they're often out there at those times when crimes are committed. So that's something we'd like to do some additional work on as well to see if we can get an active COP again in this community.
Okay, Murray.
Yeah, I mean, crime is obviously a serious issue. With the safety concerns, speaking to a number of people, mothers, single mothers with kids, a couple of kids live close to the town hall, afraid to go out at night. That's a very serious problem. I think we should have had engagement before this to got to this point, but we need to do something more about that. Because some of the people in the homeless shelter are obviously locals that we know about. Some of them aren't. They come from other places and they bring in more of a criminal element to our community. And we have to be very careful about that because we've seen more and more break-ins, more and more theft, not only inside our community itself, but also in the rural area. So we do need to get a task force together and we need to start looking at what we can do as a community, because when it starts infringing on people's safety, what do you think people outside this are saying? Do they want to come and shop in Smithers if they're concerned about even walking on the streets? That's a huge concern and a huge problem. So we do need to get busy and do something about this as soon as we can.
Okay, thanks. Let's go back to the floor. We have somebody waiting patiently for a question.
Thank you. So I do think that safety for pedestrians and people riding bikes and kids is really important. The active transportation plan was created with input from our community, and it includes things such as a bike lane, you know, going from the Muheim side of downtown to the other side of downtown, and some other actions. And I'm just wondering if, I think I'm supposed to direct it to someone else, so I'll direct it to Sam, but I'm wondering if you will support the continued implementation of the active transportation plan.
Absolutely, thank you, Kazda. The active transportation plan is extremely important because more and more often we're finding that people don't need to use their vehicles as much. They'll be able to use their bikes to get downtown. We got kids walking to and from school, so it's extremely important that we provide safe active transportation around our community.
Thank you. Okay.
Hey, Tom.
Phil.
So I'll direct this to everyone because we seem to be able to do that. Hopefully you'll allow everyone to answer because you haven't been allowing everyone to answer when they say they're directed.
We do have lots of time. So.
Okay. So this was originally directed to Murray, but we'll direct it to everybody. So you had mentioned that you didn't think we should be providing land for housing, and then you changed, yes, maybe we should, but we shouldn't remediate it. So I'm curious how you would balance those sort of creative solutions with the business owner then who would come to you and say, I can't get any employees because they have no place to stay, and I'm going to have to shut down, and you're going to lose my tax base. So how would you balance those two different?
Well, let me correct you first, Phil. I said I didn't agree with giving the land and doing the remediation. So if you didn't hear that, I'm sorry. I don't have a problem with doing some of that stuff to prevent or to create more housing. We need to have more housing here. But again, we have to have other serious things put in place too, and that is to make sure we can support when we're going to do that. We have to have the tax ability to do those things, because otherwise we're going to continue to have problems going forward, and that we can't even look after our infrastructure. Housing is important. Infrastructure is really important. We haven't put any money in there, and you should know yourself. You sat on council for a while, and if you were done any kind of looking back, again, come back to the financial markets and that, we've known for 20 plus years that we need to invest in infrastructure. If you've got infrastructure like that, you're not taking a bunch of taxpayers' dollars going to there because you've got a regular schedule on it, then you're going to have excess dollars. We could do some of those projects. I have no problem with that side, but we have to be fiscally responsible, and that's the most thing that I say we haven't been doing.
Okay, thanks, Marie. Question on this side.
Actually,
Thank you.
The question was to everyone. Were you going to let people do it?
Oh, okay, I didn't see any.
Okay, I'd look.
Yes.
Okay.
Down at this end.
If you can wait just a minute. We'll let Gladys.
I'll lean back.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yes, we do need to be willing to hear the questions about whether or not we're going to pay for remediation if we have contaminated land, whether or not we're going to contribute land if there's the opportunity to work with another entity. In the case of one of the projects was mentioned with Goodacre Place, in order to secure that was under rapid response for housing. One of the things that was needed was a place to put it. The province had the funds for the project. We had a partner in community services, and the community had the land to offer. It actually did require remediation, which was really surprising, but it had to be done. As a result, we got 24 units of housing that were much needed. The same for the project that's coming next year with the Friendship Center Society. It's a piece of land that's been held for a long time. It has to be remediated. It's been remediated, and it's going to provide over 30 units of family housing. Sometimes we have to come to the table with what we have, and when we can, we ought to.
Okay, thank you. Frank.
I'm going to defer. Sam also had her hand up.
Yeah, Sam goes first.
Sorry?
Sam also had her hand up.
Okay.
I guess I'll do a jumping jack next time. So one thing that we have to look at when we're talking about building and remediation and all of this is things have a cost, and they do, right? It's dollars and cents, it's numbers on a page, but we really have to recognize the value that something will bring. So for something like affordable family housing, yes, there's going to be a cost to remediation, but what's that value of having those families being able to come into Smithers, or maybe it's people that would otherwise be forced to leave Smithers but be able to stay in this community. So that's one thing that I will do with every decision is, yes, things have a cost, but you have to look at the value, and that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, thanks, Frank.
So there's a couple of ways to look at this. First of all, we're running out of town-owned land, so we're not going to be able to partner without a little more innovation. We've applied for some Crown land, but that has to go through consultation with the Wet'suwet'en, and it has to go through the Crown, and the Crown is never very fast. If we're looking at things like remediation, that was a town-owned piece of land that was contaminated. Eventually, it would have to be cleaned up. And I consider myself conservatively, fiscally conservative, but sometimes you have to do things before they get too expensive. The longer we left that remediation off, the more expensive it was going to get. It got more expensive even from the time we started considering it to the end. So sometimes you have to spend money up front before it gets to be an emergency situation and costs you a whole bunch of money.
I want to just quickly before Debbie asks her question, I couldn't agree more with Frank, and around 94% of the province being Crown land and access to Crown land. That's why I solidified that importance of creating a strong partnership with the Office of the Wet'suwet'en. And not only, giving land back, but also more access to Crown land. And working for the province, I know that, we don't turn things around as quickly as we could, and I know how to work the system, especially through this new MOU. I really want to get more access to Crown land. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We've got about 10 minutes left, so if you could direct your question, please.
Thank you. This is an open question to anyone that would like to respond. I'd like to know, we're all feeling the effects of climate change. There are a number of communities that have been evacuated in the last few years under extenuating circumstances. And I would like to know if anybody can speak to why we're not talking about it this evening that much at all, and what they might be able to do if they're interested to be able to elevate the conversation.
Anybody want to go first?
That's mitigating and adapting to climate change.
Okay. Gladys?
Sure. Thanks, Debbie.
Oh,
sorry.
Give me 1 second. Okay, so we'll let them go down the table, and then we're going to wrap this up and let them do their closing statements. Gladys.
Thank you. We've been so lucky here in this community when we think about climate disasters. I had the chance at a recent local government meeting to talk with the mayor of Lytton, who's not running again. And when you see the look in his eye of an entire community gone and what it means to the people who live there, we've been very fortunate, but we need to be smart. We need to recognize that there are climate disasters. And the things that we can do locally are, first of all, to communicate that to the people that live here, to the businesses and the entities that we work with. We communicate it to our staff, that we're interested in having solutions brought to the table that will help us mitigate the effects of climate change, and then to help citizens prepare to adapt. We're not going to be able to avoid this. It's happening. We saw the big storms on the East Coast. The phrases that now seem a bit odd, we talk about the atmospheric rivers and heat domes. We didn't used to know what those are, but I think we can't expect to escape it forever. We need to be participating and doing the best we can to mitigate and adapt.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else want to get in on this? Adam?
So I just want to say, of course, we're concerned about climate change, especially someone such as myself, a bit younger, that wants to start a family. I'm always thinking about the future. I don't want to bring my kids into this hostile climate. That being said, I also have to say we have to be practical. We're in the north, winters are cold, and the big polluters are those private jets, those yachts. Of course, everyone should make their own steps, and of course, we should be working towards green energy, supporting electric. But up here in the north, sometimes there are other concerns as well, such as the housing crisis and the climate, how cold they get. Of course, it's a concern to us, but sometimes there are priorities, unfortunately.
Sorry.
Go
are we
ahead,
going down
Jenny.
the table, or are we? Is it
ahead.
okay?
Yeah.
I just want to thank Debbie for all the work that she does for our community, for fighting for climate. I don't know where you are, Debbie, but thank you so much. I just want to say for me, this really hits home. I was called to fight fires and then go help to fight floods within a period of less than 3 weeks. And it was all across the province. So for me, I think it's overwhelming to think about how we tackle this from a global perspective. But my first priority is to work with our community to understand what climate change means to us. And I think our number one priority should be around fire and flooding. I think we do have some significant risks here in our community, and we actually have a new Emergency Management BC office that's located in the town of Smithers. So I'd like to work with them again in the Office of the Wet'suwet'en and the federal government to make sure that we're protected. Thank you.
Frank?
Yeah, first of all, I just wanted to say, you know, it's very hard up here. We don't get a lot of time to speak, and thank you for asking the question, because we don't get to talk about things unless the question's asked. Everybody here, I think, is open if you want to talk to us about anything that wasn't covered here tonight. On the climate change, I kind of am more to the adaptation side. I think it's a little more in our wheelhouse. We have to make sure that we get our riverbank shored up. We've lost a lot of our riverfront to erosion, so we've got a grant in for that, but we need to be on that. We've also had our staff start to look at a little more stormwater management, digging ditches and stuff that's maybe been neglected a little bit in the past. So we are working on that end of it, and I think there's a lot more work to be done.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we're going to finish up here with the closing statements of all the councillors. We'll start with the council candidates, and we'll end with the mayoral candidates. Prior to coming out here, we drew lots for the order of speaking, and Calvin Elliott is number one. So go ahead, Calvin.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out and showing support and interest in the municipal politics. I think it shows that you care about our community. We have a great community of Smithers. There's been lots of good ideas put forth, lots of different perspectives. Going back to the climate change thing, I think we have every perspective at this table. And those are all good things to talk about. And we can all do our part to change things a little at a time. And that's my goal. I don't think the municipal government can make big sweeping changes. We're a small machine, but we can influence government and influence people and change culture, and so we can put our best foot forward and provide the services that citizens need. So that's my commitment if I were to be elected as councillor, and I thank you for the opportunity to run.
Thanks, Calvin. Number two was Frank Ray.
Hi, I'm Frank Ray. If you don't know me, I've served on council for the last 15 years. This election's a little bit different. Usually there's a lot of incumbents running, but there's only 3 running this time. So you're gonna get at least 4/7 of your council is gonna be brand new. I'm hoping to get reelected. I'm hoping to bring the experience and perspective of past councils. I hear a lot of good ideas up here today, but I also hear myself from 5 terms ago when I didn't quite know as much as I did. And you know, and then that's not putting anybody down, because I was the same. There's a lot to learn, and I know I looked up to people that I served with. I see a couple of them in the crowd today. I looked up to them to lead me in how the town worked, and I hope to be there to help our new councillors. Thanks for them all for putting their names forward. I think we have 3 minutes, if that's correct. So I'm just going to go through a few of my priorities. Of course, they're not promises, because I have to have the rest of council come along with me. So my priorities are ensuring that our existing infrastructure receives proper and predictable funding for maintenance and upkeep. We've been working on that. We've been trying to increase it, but we can't increase it all at once. Otherwise, our tax bill would be huge. One thing I'm going to propose is seeking funding for a large-scale project to renew all of our sidewalks. Now, before that becomes a promise, we have to find out how much it's going to cost, where we're going to get the funding from, but it's something that I want to pursue. I'd like to formulate a new business and industry-focused economic development plan to support our new economic development officer. The airport's the key there. I want to ensure that both the Riverbank Erosion Project and the wastewater treatment plants are funded and completed. I want to continue efforts to improve housing choices and affordability. I do believe that everybody deserves a place they can call home. I want to support further collaboration with the regional district on areas of mutual interest, including our airport. I want to support community efforts towards reconciliation and advance the town's relationship with the Wet'suwet'en Hereditary Chiefs. I want to work on a right-sized library building. We're going to have to think outside the box. The grant funders have told us that. We can combine that with maybe some housing, some daycare, something like that. I want to pursue the actual funding of the RBA. The MOU is fine, but it took 7 years to get there, and we need to make sure the money starts flowing now. That's how we do these things. And I also want to make sure that our water treatment for manganese, which we've been exceeding, is taken care of. We're in the early stages of finding out what we need to do, but we need to work on that, obviously. And thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Third was Genevieve Patterson.
Thank you so much. So I just want to start off by saying that I live, work, and play in our community and across the North area, and this place means a whole heck of a lot to me. Taking care of this, our home and our surrounding area is my top priority. I've worked with all levels of government across the province, including the North, for the last 15 years. I know what issues and opportunities exist and how we can solve them. I know how the various levels of government work, including Indigenous, provincial, federal, and municipal. I have extensive experience working with industry, stakeholders, and the public, and I've led the resolution of complex issues and exciting opportunities, and I'll continue to do so as my role as your councillor. I have a vast network across the province, and I'll continue to collaborate and seek out opportunities to learn from our neighbors. I have extensive experience in volunteering, both provincially and within our community, including the BC Poverty Reduction Coalition, the Canadian Cancer Society, and Emergency Response. And I know that we lack the necessary resources to adequately help everyone. And I'll continue to fight and advocate for our community. I'm also a small business owner here in town, and I will continue to provide the support for our local economy that gives so much back to our community. I'm a strategic thinker who's people-focused and discipline-driven, and I don't shy away from conflict. I value the difference of opinions within our community, and I believe that conflict can lead to healthy resolutions. I will prioritize improved relationships and engagement between us. I prioritize self-care and development so that I can show up my best self every day, allowing me to stay motivated and productive for you. My priorities include more supportive and affordable housing, access to childcare and healthcare services, upgrades to our critical infrastructure, including education and community to advance reconciliation, creating and supporting diversity and inclusion on the Smithers Council and our community. All of these are immediate needs. The town cannot resolve these alone. We are more efficient and effective when we work together. My vision is to create a community leadership group where leaders from all levels of government work together to reestablish trust within our community, increase transparency, and develop and deliver on shared priorities. I promise to dedicate my life over the next 4 years to serving you and the rest of our community to the very best of my ability. Please vote for me on October 15th. Thank you.
Thanks, Genevieve. Next up is Nick Briere.
Thanks, Tom. So I just want to say that I didn't write anything for my closing speech. I'm an off-the-cuff kind of guy. My motto is I'm trying to make sense of things. And it's funny, between me and my wife, we're going with I'm just winging it. And that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm just winging it. I'm telling you, me to you, on what I want to see for the town. I want to see more communication. I want to see more transparency. I want more involvement within the community. I think the council has been lacking that, and I know from talking from people today and over the past week that people want that dialogue, and I'm there for that. I'm going to be using my social platform primarily to converse what's happening in town council if I get elected. And I love the town. I moved 4,000 kilometers away 2 years ago. I moved back last year. The town is calling me, and here I am. So with that, thank you to everyone who volunteered today. Tom, thank you for moderating. I appreciate everyone that came out today and everyone that's online viewing. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Up next, Sam Raven.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sam Raven, and my pronouns are she and her. So I'd like to start off by thanking everybody for taking the time to come out tonight. I think if for everybody viewing in virtually that we're not able to make it here in person, and all the behind the scenes people that made all the magic happen here tonight. And especially all the question askers, because I know how difficult it is to sometimes get up and have to speak into a mic where people can hear you. So I'd like to take this opportunity to just give you a bit of background about me. So I worked as a community support worker for 8 years in the Smithers. So I've worked with vulnerable individuals, marginalized individuals, and I have seen firsthand some of the issues that are facing this town. And I am going to bring a people-focused approach to all the issues that come forward to the council chamber. I'm looking forward to working with the next mayor and council to tackle all of the issues facing us. And I know that I am able to do that effectively. I'm a good communicator. I'm available during the campaign and also after. I'm going to be using social media as well as being visible in town. If you see me on the street, please stop and talk to me. I want to hear from you. I'm going to actively reach out to the business community to find out what's working and maybe where there's some issues and how we can come to those solutions together. I also want to work with local Indigenous leaders and the communities surrounding us, because I think that a lot of the issues that we're facing here in Smithers affect the outlying areas. And I truly believe that we are stronger together. So when we're looking at some of these broader issues, we need to lobby at all levels of government, but come together to do that and make our voices heard throughout the province and across the country, to be honest, and really say that we need help and we want to make Smithers the place where everyone wants to come live. I was born and raised in this valley. I grew up in Telqua. I learned how to swim in the BV pool. My first job was at Tim Hortons. I've been here my whole life. I moved away, married my husband, and he came back with me. I was gone for 2 years. And Smithers is my home. I am passionate about the people here. I want this to be the place where I raise my family and where they can stay if they want. I don't want them to feel pushed out or neglected. I don't want us to not have health care. And these are all issues that we can advocate for strongly, and I'm looking forward to being on council after Election Day on October 15th. So when you're going to go cast your ballot, please think of me and vote with your heart. And thank you again for showing up tonight.
Next up is Adam Koch.
Okay, so first of all, thank you everyone for coming out and being such a great audience and having these great questions and putting up with me and my lack of experience. I haven't talked in front of a big crowd since school, so bear with me. That being said, to give a bit more about myself, I have been here my whole life except for my 2 years in school. I've worked at Panago, I've worked at Safeway, and I worked at the library as the computer tutor 1 year, and that was part of the reason actually that I decided to run, was working with the more elderly community and realizing how much that I enjoyed giving back to this community. Smithers is a wonderful place, and we should encourage more people to come here and realize that. Now, if you elect me, my priorities are going to be affordable housing for everyone, low income, the people that don't fit in that category, and seniors. Everyone needs a place to live. And we need to make sure that our infrastructure is maintained. That's not the most interesting, roads, water systems, but with the way that markets are, and we have to be planning ahead. So yes, thank you for coming out, and remember October 15th, Election Day.
Thanks, Adam. Next up, Jason McCrindle.
Well, first off, I want to start by thanking everyone for coming out tonight. Thank you for your questions that were submitted. Thank you for the questions that were asked here in-house. An election isn't something that I had ever expected to be part of, at least not on this side of it. I'll be the first to admit that I'm not your typical politician. This isn't a career move or a stepping stone for me. I simply want to help the community that my family and I call home. By now, you've probably noticed that I've been running a campaign that looks a little bit different than everyone else's here. First, I haven't accepted any donations during my campaign, nor have I spent any money. I'm not doing this to buy anyone's votes, nor am I here to have my voice funded. Second, you won't see any of my signs around town. We've had a conversation about climate and environment here. The signs, they get vandalized, they fall over, blow away, and then end up at the dump, and they're all plastic. Pamphlets and promotional material end up in the same place. Third, I didn't come here with a team around me. I'm doing this on my own with the support of my wife and children. I don't have someone running my campaign for me, nor do I have any volunteers out canvassing for your votes. Well, there's many things that I feel passionately about, many of which have been discussed this evening. From crime to homelessness, housing, and infrastructure, I hope you've all gotten a sense of where I stand. I'm a former business owner here in town. I feel that business is a major thing here. I work for a major business here in town. It's the backbone of our community. But with that said, I only have one voice. It is imperative that you and I, if elected, can have tough conversations, discuss what is important to you, the resident of Smithers, consult with you about projects and how your tax money is being spent. If I'm to make just one promise this election, it would be to be here for you, the resident of Smithers, to be your voice on council. I may not be originally from Smithers. I've only been here since about 2009, and on and off with that said. We moved here from Telkwa back to Smithers a year ago. I didn't grow up here, but this is now my home, and it's your home. Together on October 15th, we can make some change by voting to make Smithers more accountable, safe, affordable, and prosperous. I look forward to seeing you all at the polls.
Thanks, Jason. And finally, John Bukema.
Thank you to all who took the time to attend tonight's forum. I'd also like to wish the best to all the candidates who are up here on stage this evening. I'm very thankful that a respectful exchange of ideas took place. As Election Day approaches, I think we all know there are many significant issues facing our town. We have aging infrastructure, high housing costs, homelessness and poverty issues, an airport that faces stiff competition from the Terrace-Kitimat Regional Airport, concerns about personal safety and crime, staffing challenges for many small businesses, and 2 years of property tax hikes that are not sustainable in the long term, to name just a few. It's easy to say that there are simple answers to these challenges, but none of them have easy solutions. 4 years of sitting at the council table has definitely taught me this reality. I don't believe that anyone who says there are simple solutions is being completely honest. The only way to tackle these issues is to realize their complexity and to work collaboratively to find solutions. Perhaps the day has arrived, and I know this is controversial for some here, where we as a community have to be more open to moderate growth so that we have an expanded property tax base that can pay for the operational and infrastructure costs coming our way. It's my hope that when residents cast their ballots on October 15th, that they'll realize the value of also having some experienced faces at the council table who are familiar with the issues, who recognize their complexity, and who are familiar with why past decisions were made. I've invested a lot of time and energy into learning what it means to be a town councillor the past 4 years, and considered a real privilege to have been given this opportunity to serve. I've probably done more listening than speaking during my first term because that's how learning usually takes place. Now I'd love to put what I've learned into practice for another 4 years. My wife and I moved to this town 23 years ago, and we've come to love this community. It's a very special place that we're very proud to call home. While we love the natural beauty of the area, we fully recognize its greatest strength is its people. And because our people are our greatest attribute, I have no doubt that we as a community will make progress in tackling the issues facing us many of which were identified here tonight. Recently, my wife and I bumped into a small group of Australians who had just passed through Smithers. They told us there's no town like it on the Highway 16 corridor. Let's all commit to working together so that future groups of tourists can say similar things about this place we call home. Let's not have our issues be what defines us. Instead, may we be known as a community that works collaboratively to solve those challenges facing us that were identified tonight. Thank you.
And with that, before we move on to our mayoral candidates, I want to thank all of the council candidates again. It takes a lot of guts to get up here and talk about all these issues, and we should be grateful for that. Another big hand for all the council. All right, Murray drew number 2, so first up, as your first mayoral candidate, Gladys Attrell.
Attrell. Just got to do it.
You'd think after interviewing her for, 4 years, that I would know that, but...
And I'm taking those seconds back. Okay. First of all, thanks everyone, to the organizers, the chamber, the media, the Interior News, to folks who came and folks who are watching online, to Steve who's making the technology work, the library folks, and to all of the candidates. This is about democracy, and democracy takes participation, so we're all participating. We've heard a lot of stuff tonight, the issues, climate, housing, finance. One thing I'm just going to make a little sort of a step out on is I've also heard some stuff about transparency. I just want to let people know, if you don't know, that all meetings are public. All meeting notices are published. Meetings are live streamed. Council isn't able to do anything in private except a very few issues, and they generally come under legal, labor, and that's it. So we have to have reasons for having closed meetings. Local government is very transparent. Some of the issues that we heard about are going to be easier to address than others. We are going to find the grants for the capital projects. We're going to be able to deal with wastewater, riverbank erosion, and airport improvements. It might take time, but we'll get there. We're going to get through the budget process, and we're going to get to taxation. We're going to do those things. What's going to be more difficult are the issues that we can't solve alone. We've talked about a lot of them: homelessness, housing, labor shortage, the fact that people don't have a doctor. I don't have a doctor right now. These are issues that require us at Town Council to work with others, other governments, regional, provincial, federal, with the private sector, with the not-for-profit sector. There aren't any simple solutions to these issues, or really, they'd be solved already. We can be creative at Council. We can listen to good ideas. We can be attentively looking for that great solution when it comes along. We can lobby and we can advocate. Let's also remember, though, that there is so much good here in this community. Smithers is thriving and vibrant. It is the envy of many. We are rich in recreation. It is beautiful here. We're rich in arts and culture. We have a strong, diverse economy that has supported us for decades. We have an amazing business community. It doesn't mean we're not going to work hard on what we need to do, but let's not assume it's all broken, because it just isn't. I've been out door knocking and talking to you, and I'm hearing the things that you think are great and the things that we need to work on. The things I'm going to bring to the role I've had already, and I've been working hard. I'm committed. I have an inclusive and respectful approach. I can listen to different opinions. I have experience on council and as mayor, and I have provided steady leadership through some pretty tough years. I'm excited about this job. I'm excited to have an opportunity to be mayor again. I'm deeply committed to this town that I love. It is my hometown. I'm happy about that. My name is Gladys Attrell. I'm humbly asking for your vote on October 15th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gladys. And last but not least, Murray Hawes.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank everyone up here for putting your name forward. It's a wonderful thing to do for the community and for yourselves, and to be able to even think about taking part in something like this. I know for a lot of us it's been pretty uncomfortable. I'm not a polished politician, and I probably we're going to take time to get that way. But I want to say this. If you think we've had transparency and we've had inclusiveness in that, talk to some of the business people. They're the ones that are supposed to be the driving force that's going to help this community grow, and we need to have that. If we don't have a valued business community and don't have growing community, then we're going to die. You have to be able to expand business. We need to encourage people to come here and want to do business in this town. That is crucial in that for a lot of reasons. You want to take care of the housing. You want to take care of the homeless. You want to take care of getting more doctors here. You want to have more childcare. Then you need a broader tax base so you can do that. And only way you can do that is by supporting and helping develop more business in this community. It's crucial. To do that, you have to be fiscally responsible. We haven't been that way. I truly believe that, looking back. And I know all the minutes are not are supposed to be open and available to you, and they are. But some stuff is taken in camera, and I don't know if that's all just the legal stuff or not. But I want to have open transparency. I want to be able to go out there and walk the street as a mayor, and go down and see the businesses, and talk to the people, and see what the issue is. I was listening to one of the last council meetings, and they talked about that. The CFO said, we've got a poor report card. And that came up in one of the other reports too, that the people want to hear from us. You're not doing that. He suggested maybe we should go out there and walk the streets and talk to the business owners. And then someone on council said, yeah, maybe we should go with you. Well, that's past. You should have been doing that. You need to make sure you're supporting them. You need to make sure you want to have a community that people want to come and shop here. That way, again, you broaden that tax base out. You get more support from even the rural. Then you can afford to do all the rest of that stuff. That's the most important thing we got to do here is you need to be fiscally responsible and have transparency and honesty. I hope you vote for me for change. I don't work anymore. I'm retired. I have all the time it takes to do this job. I didn't want to step into this. I was just going to run for council. And then I had so many people stop me and said, Murray, you can't just let Gladys get in. At least give her a chance to go against her. You've got to bring another perspective. And that's what I'm doing. I have the time. I am committed. I'd rather be traveling with my wife, playing with my grandchild. I don't know, 30 seconds, thank you. You know, it's so sad that we have to be looking back where we should have been looking forward a long time ago, Natty. But I'm really hoping that we can get this town turned around and go in the direction that I believe, and many others that have talked to me believe it should be. Thank you very much. I hope you vote for me.
And with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is absolutely awesome to see a full auditorium for a municipal election forum. Thanks for keeping it civil and respectful, and have a great night. Good night.